Everyone, Apple Maps is probably one of the most used map applications out there for sure. So I want to go and break down some of my favorite tricks and tips that you should go ahead and start utilizing within your specific application. Now, this is a very easy application to understand, and there's not really too much craziness going on, but there are two different options, I would say, or two different panels of your Apple Maps software. So there's the actual Maps application, but there's also the settings portion of your application as well, which gives you more, pretty much enables and toggles that you can go and enable or disable if you want to. So in this specific case, I just opened up Apple Maps, and most of us know you can go and use your gestures as you normally would, right? You can go ahead and zoom in, you can zoom out, but also a really cool thing, right, is the terrain that you can go ahead and kind of modify. So if I go ahead and zoom in, I guess in some areas it doesn't really work out that well, but if you go and come here, and as long as you have your terrain set up properly, if you actually go ahead and pretty much, click here, if you go and click on here, and if you go and change it to maybe something like this, what you'll be able to see is that you'll be able to see all of these houses and whatnot, right? But you can also use your two fingers swipe up like this to basically change the view from being top down to more of like a kind of like a wide view to the side. So that is something that I use pretty much, I'm not gonna lie, I use it on like every single specific, Google Maps, Apple Maps, whatever I use. I do it all the time on basically all of my applications, and it's something I use all the time. So if you're swiping up from the top like that, I would highly recommend doing that. Now you can also go back to 2D view like this, or you can swap to 3D view, which is technically what they call it. Now you can also go back and change your specific terrain. If you want it more like this, you can go through this way. Keep in mind that if you keep your terrain like this, it does actually give you, I guess, a little bit less strain on your data. So if you're trying to go ahead and use the least amount of data, that is something I'd probably recommend doing. Now on top of that, if we go and swipe up, another cool thing that most of us probably know is that we can set up favorites. So if you want to quickly go to a specific address that you go to, like home or work, you can go and set it up right here. Guides is really cool because you can essentially create different lists for yourself to go and kind of visit and explore. There's guides that we love or that they've actually created or other people have created. You can kind of take a look at it right here, which is so cool, and explore guides, yada yada. But another cool thing is sharing your location. So you can actually share your location, basically where you are right now, to other people directly from Apple Maps. So you can just go in and click on share my location right here. And if you go ahead and just click on that, a little pop-up will come up and you should be able to go ahead and share your location that way. So that is another cool thing that some people actually do. Now, basically the remainder of this video is going to be within this specific panel. So if we go and click on our profile icon right here, there are tons of cool things that you can go and kind of explore from here as well. So we have favorites, which are just favorite addresses, so things that we kind of talked about before. We can go and exit out of here. There's guides, which we talked about. There's reports, which is really cool. So if you click on reports, you can essentially go ahead and report issues if you've seen them. So report route issue, report add to maps, report street issue. If there's things that you see on the side of the road, so if there's like a car broken down, or if there's like a broken thing or a street that's not there anymore, whatever, you can go and kind of report these things, and essentially that will help Apple Maps kind of become a better software overall. So, and that is something I'd recommend doing too, and things like that help out a lot of pedestrians who are just going through and using Apple Maps on an everyday basis. Now, preferences is a massive thing that I would recommend you guys to check out as well. So under preferences, we have directions, and here we have driving, walking, transit, and cycling. It really just depends on what you're doing on an everyday basis. If you're, usually walking by default, then obviously that's going to be, what you would prefer. So I would probably just recommend keeping driving. That's most people are probably going to be doing. I typically have avoid tools on, but you can just keep it however you want to. But at the very bottom, you'll see that we get these maps settings. So this is where it's going to directly take us to exactly where we want to go in our settings application. So earlier on in this video, I had mentioned that basically, there's two sets of this panels. There's the Maps app, and then there's this specific panel as well. So here what we can do is there's just so much information here, it's not even funny. So what we can do, we have obviously the same thing that we saw earlier, but right here under spoken directions, another cool thing is if you go and click here, you can actually have it to where, essentially if you don't want spoken directions on, you can just have it to where it's going to give you directions. It's basically going to pause the spoken audio. So essentially it's going to go ahead and just, it's going to pause whatever it's hearing. If there's a song playing or whatever, it'll pause that to give you the, directions. Or what you can do is, with directions, wake device, you can do the same thing. And then directions on radio. So it says on cars that support it, hear spoken directions when you're, listening to the radio. That's another option you have too. I know a majority of people usually keep this off. So they don't pause the audio, they just have it playing. And then it usually just dims down the audio a little bit. That's another thing that might be pretty big for some people, so that might be something you probably consider as well. You can also have these things to where, if you're trying to share your context or share your location, you can share your estimated time of arrival, which is really cool. You can have and kind of change out your specific, languages if you want to, but in this case, it's always in English, which is, specifically for me. And those are pretty much the main things. Now, I like Apple Maps a lot. I think it's a great application. But as always, it's only going to be really as good as the version of software that you're on. So another big thing that I'd recommend doing is if you're on a very outdated version of iOS, which is the operating system that runs on your iPhone, if you're using this application on your iPhone, is that you will need to update your phone if you want to get all the latest and greatest software and features. So I would recommend going through on your iPhone, clicking on your settings, clicking on general, clicking on software update, and just going through and basically updating your phone as often as you can. And that is probably going to be the best thing you can do because that is going to give you more features in that application than you usually can stand right now. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.